Welcome back, YouTubers, to another Smackdown review with me, Mr. Parkin, on behalf of the British Fist. And first things first, I just want to put my hands up to you guys and be honest and say, on Sunday night, I didn't really feel like watching Extreme Rules. I've seen little bits of it and stuff, and I've seen the results, and I've seen the main talking points from what has happened from that show, and I will be briefly discussing them in individual segments on this video, so you'll still get a couple of thoughts from me on Extreme Rules, just nothing really in depth. If you have any thoughts on Extreme Rules or anything else such as Smackdown or Raw, please leave your thoughts in the comments section and let's get going. I didn't really watch the Shield versus Evolution match. I don't know why, I just didn't really have time or get round to it, but my guess was that it was a good match, and from a lot of reports I've read and from people that I've spoke to, that was indeed the match of the night, and it was in the mid-card. More on that later. I want to talk about the Shield first in this SmackDown review, as once again the show seemed to revolve a lot around the Shield and their beef with Evolution, etc., and Triple H putting them in matches. So on Raw, we had Sheamus winning the US Championship in a 20-man Battle Royal on Raw for the US Championship, and to be honest, I think the belt is better now, and I think Dean Ambrose is definitely better off now that US Championship is off him. The reason why this was done was so that the Evolution and Triple H and the Authority could, give the Shield a challenge and injure them so they could eventually get to them at the end of the show, which is exactly what they did. They had the Sheamus versus Dean Ambrose rematch for the US Championship on this week's edition of SmackDown. Dean Ambrose was selling the Evolution beatdown very well, which essentially ended up being a deciding factor in this match and allowing Sheamus to get the victory, which I think is best for all parties involved, really. Also, does anyone else think that Sheamus may turn heel and take Batista's spot in Evolution while he's away promoting his new movie this summer? I've been hearing through the grapevine that Batista may be leaving for a little while until SummerSlam, and they're going to bring someone else in to take his spot. The best person, in my opinion, for that is definitely Sheamus. I mean, we know he's buddy-buddy with Triple H, because even though Triple H is a heel and Sheamus is a babyface, they still made it a big deal to show how happy Triple H was that Sheamus won the belt, even though he's essentially supposed to be a babyface, according to the canned heat on SmackDown. So I think he may end up turning heel. I think that'll be much better. I think that will be much better off for his character, but we'll see what happens. We also have Mark Henry versus Roman Reigns, a nice little spotlight match here for Roman Reigns, and considering the effects of the beatdown that he had on Monday to the Evolution faction and his opponent Mark Henry being this big world's strongest man monster, he did kind of seem like Superman here in beating him. But they're trying to build up a new potential star here in Roman Reigns. So him getting the victory in his condition over Mark Henry, it's done more for him than it would have been detrimental, I think, if Mark Henry defeated him, who's really not been going anywhere lately, whereas Roman Reigns has been going somewhere. We also had Batista with a beard versus Seth Rollins. A nice little combination match here, in my opinion. You've got a big muscle guy in Batista with a nice beard versus a small high flyer guy. I think those matches work very well because you have the big muscle man generally beating down on the little guy, and the little guy gets hope spots in here and there. And I just think matches like that, really seem to work a lot better. You can't moan about Batista here, really. I mean, yes, the match was very slow and everything, but Batista has put over Daniel Bryan, he's put over Roman Reigns, but there's no way he's putting over an injured Seth Rollins here. I mean, he won by a countout and then powerbombs in post-match to continue the beatdown. And to be honest with you, I don't really think Batista should have lost here either, so I believe the countdown victory was probably best for business, even though essentially soon Batista is supposedly leaving WWE for a little while to promote his movie. So really, everything that went on with the Shield on this show, apart from Roman Reigns, who, obviously WWE are going to spotlight a lot more because they feel he is going to be the next big thing because he's their creation as opposed to Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, the whole point of this SmackDown was to, further evolve the fact, evolution joke there, but to further evolve the fact that the Shield are somewhat vulnerable when they're being put under pressure by the Authority and the Evolution when they're just putting them in matches like this, going up against Justice. It's just the perfect way to do this Shield storyline. I do wonder where they're going to go now with the Shield and Evolution. Are they going to have singles matches? Are they going to have another big six-man tag, maybe with the loser disbands or something like that? It'll be interesting to see what they do going into the next pay-per-view, which I believe is Payback. So as predicted, Bad News Barrett won the Intercontinental Championship off Big E at Extreme Rules, and thank God, Big E Langston really wasn't going anywhere as the Intercontinental Champion, and we kind of saw here, why Wade Barrett is kind of the champion, because he can talk. There's much more you can do with a champion that can talk you know, when you put him in segments and give him mic time, as opposed to a Big E, you can only really put on matches and make sporadic mic appearances. But Bad News Barrett, you can kind of spread over the show, give him a mic every now and then. It really helps a lot when you're trying to do some storylines, which hopefully, I probably know they won't, but hopefully they'll do now. Bad News Barrett is the Intercontinental Championship. Chances are he won't work as IC champion, but we can only hope. Also, Cesaro won the Triple Threat Elimination match, which opened the show, thank God. It looks like they're now stemming off into a Cesaro and Heyman and RVD feud now, which, you know, could be good for Cesaro, especially if RVD, you know, decides to put him over. And then we had a tag team match, Cesaro and Barrett versus Big E Langston and Black Eye Van Dam. BVD. Black Eye Van Dam. I thought it was kind of funny. And Wade Barrett going, B! B, N, B, and then getting kicked in the face. You know, it's kind of funny, isn't it? The amount of times that Rob Van Dam has potatoed someone, and he finally gets potatoed. You know, Cesaro gets the pin on Big E Langston here, which is the way forward, because Cesaro is the guy that obviously spotlighting now. Big E Langston is like that faltering character they were once going somewhere with, and it's gone on an upward slope, and now he's on that downward slope again. I was very surprised to see that Daniel Bryan versus Kane for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship actually main evented Extreme Rules. Because on my Smackdown review and preview, I called Daniel Bryan a mid-card champion because he has kind of felt like a mid-card champion on Raw and SmackDown. That is mainly probably due to circumstances, but I thought for certain that with Triple H, Batista, Orson and The Shield, Roman Reigns, etc., in that Shield versus Evolution match, I felt for sure that would main event. But well done, WWE, in having Daniel Bryan and Kane main event the show. Daniel Bryan was the last thing we saw at WrestleMania. He should have main evented this show, even though, in my opinion, the Shield and Evolution had more build to it and had a bit more excitement to it than this match. But essentially, from what I saw, the match delivered. You know, it went backstage. We had the forklift involved, the put on fire table. Kane sitting up at the end kind of indicating, you know, you did all this to me, but I'm still going. But I've got to give credit where credit's due. WWE put the WWE World Heavyweight Championship on last, and we all thought that they weren't going to do it. Also, it looks like from what we've seen on Raw that this feud may be continuing into a horror movie. You can just see by the way they're presenting this Rusev and Lana partnership that this really is much more about Lana than it is Alexander Rusev, and it's almost like Alexander Rusev is purely there just to help get Lana over. So she's not your typical valet. She's actually getting her own music, her own entrance, her own mic time, you know, scripted promos, etc. So, you know, she is essentially, you know, the bigger character in this Rusev and Lana partnership, which, you know, we didn't really think was going to happen at first, but that seems like the way they're going to go with it. And, you know, especially when she's talking about Putin and how we should follow his ruling and everything, you know, this whole thing is about Lana. Now, I've seen Rusev and Kofi Kingston face off on NXT a few times, and Rusev got the better of him on both occasions, I believe, and the match didn't really get much time. And to be honest, when they're pushing Rusev as much as he is, this match isn't going to go 10 minutes. It's not even going to go 5 minutes. It was a very quick match, which is essentially what it needs to be, because it's all about showcasing the new character, Alexander Rusev. We've been there, done that with Kofi Kingston. Now it's time to showcase an Alexander Rusev, and he beat Kofi Kingston here pretty quickly, even though showcasing Alexander Rusev is really more about showcasing Lana. So essentially, Lana beat Kofi Kingston? Once again, I've got to give WWE credit where credit is due. With this WLC match, you know, they could have just had a WLC match and be done with it there. But no! They went all the way with it. With mini tables, mini ladders, you know, mini announcers. They went the whole fucking pelt with this WLC match. And, you know, when you go all the way with it, it comes off a lot better. This match was very, very entertaining. You know, with the midget announcers and everything, it was just really, really entertaining. And on this SmackDown, I don't really care about Los Matadores versus 3MB, but I sure as fuck care about Hornswoggle versus El Torifo, especially when El Torifo pinned Heath Slater. I thought that was fucking hilarious. So I know this is more about Hornswoggle and El Torifo, but in my opinion, that's the more entertaining feud. So that's what it really should be about, in my opinion. Entertaining stuff with these two. You know, it's all well and good Bray Wyatt getting the win over John Cena, even though he probably should have got the win over Cena at WrestleMania, which would have made a Cena win in a cage make a lot more sense. But, you know, it's fine and good that they have Bray Wyatt go over here. You know, I'm not complaining about that, but it's just the way with WWE that they still have to make Cena look like Super Cena, and they still have to have him nearly beat the whole Wyatt family, just about to win the match, until a singing kid stops him, and that allows Bray Wyatt to get the victory. Do you see anything wrong with that picture? It just annoys me. you know, and many fans. I've seen Delexman do a video on this. I've seen the Schleg Daddy talk about this. I've seen many people talk about this with John Cena. Why in the blue hell, you know, especially when it was essentially 3-on-1 because the cage didn't actually keep anyone out, you know, why does Cena still have to be booked this way? Why can't he just lose clean? Why does it take a creepy singing kid to stop John Cena winning? You know, I don't get it. You know, I'm just done with John Cena's character. I really am. I'm quite appreciative that he's not really in the main event anymore. But for God's sake, this isn't really putting over Bray Wyatt at all, is it? You know, goddamn, it's like the Schleg Daddy says on many occasions, and Delexman and many others. John Cena is the obstacle, because essentially you want to see the heel lose, and a lot of people want to see John Cena lose, which essentially makes John Cena the heel because he's the obstacle that all the heels have to overcome, who then become baby faces in that sense. Just fucking stupid. And why weren't the Usos defending their belts at Extreme Rules? You know, you've had them win the belts on Raw, you know, which is a good moment. And then they were in the, I believe they were in the pre-show, you know, on WrestleMania. They beat, you know, 3 other teams there. And then they're not involved at Extreme Rules. Yet they had a championship match with Ryback on Raw. I don't understand. I suppose to make up for it, they gave them the main event of this week's edition of Smackdown. It was John Cena and the Usos versus the Wyatt family. To be honest, after the way the Shield were booked here, I kind of thought that the song John Cena and the Usos were going to go over, but ended up with Luke Harper getting the pin on Jimmy or Jey Uso, one of the two. You can't really tell because they're twins. And while the other lot were brawling on the outside, Cena, Wyatt, Eric Rowan, and the other Uso after a dive. So the way I see it now is that the Wyatt family got a win here. You know, but the Wyatt family may as well be challenging for the tag belts, you know. But on the other hand, I think, are the Wyatts too big a characters, you know, to really be going after the tag belts, you know. So it's really swings and roundabouts here. But, yeah, the John Cena booking at Extreme Rules, ridiculous. That's probably from what I heard from a lot of people, there's the one real downer on an otherwise pretty decent show from the WWE. You know, you had all these new guys being spotlighted, but of every fucking guy that was spotlighted, Bray Wyatt, you know, won the match. But it's essentially all about the booking of John fucking Cena. They even had the Shield beat Evolution. They even had the Shield go over the combined ego of fucking Randy Orton, Batista, and Triple H. And yet Bray Wyatt beats John Cena, and he comes out on essentially the worst end of it. Someone paint a different fucking picture here, because this one is getting kind of annoying. Let's go on to overall thoughts. Overall, I thought this was a really good edition of Smackdown. I thought the main event match was pretty good. El Torito pinning Heath Slater was pretty damn funny. You know, Cesaro and Barrett versus Biggie and Black Eye Van Dam. Decent match there. You know, Batista versus Seth Rollins, decent. Roman Reigns being spotlighted. Sheamus versus Dean Ambrose had a pretty good match. And, you know, a lot of things happened on this week's edition of Smackdown that I did like. The whole focus here, again, was on the Shield, who are becoming a massive part of the WWE programming right now. You know, they've really laid the foundation very well to essentially make these guys single stars down the line, if that is essentially what they're going to do, and especially with a guy like Roman Reigns as well, who they're really trying their best to spotlight. And the other two are really coming into their own, especially Seth Rollins, in my opinion, who's really, he really was the third wheel in the Shield when I first sort of, you know, when we first saw the Shield, but he's really making an effort to really stand out in the WWE now, and that essentially could make him a really good Jeff Hardy-like babyface. And that's definitely a good thing, by the way, down the line, in my opinion. So, a really enjoyable edition of Smackdown this week. And if you have any thoughts on it or Extreme Rules, please leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching this review. If you have, sorry I didn't watch Extreme Rules. You know, on Sunday night, I just didn't feel like watching 3 hours of wrestling. That's just the way it went. I was watching little dribs and drabs afterwards, but I just didn't watch the whole show. So don't expect a grade from me. Just gave you my brief thoughts. Thank you, like I said, thank you very much for watching. Apologies for that. Try not to make it happen again, but you just never know how I feel on weekends sometimes. See you later.